Well, Jamie, I know you've got a topic for us tonight. What have you got to talk about tonight, Jamie?
I thought we could all talk since it's, the middle of summer. We're in the dog days of summer here. I was thinking that we could all talk about our favorite summertime movies.
Mm.
Top three. So I have three and a few special mentions that I'll mention, but I actually had 3 pages of movies.
Whoa.
So I had to really narrow it down. And it's really kind of funny because when I did narrow it down, it turned out that my top three were the top three I picked in the first place. Um, so I don't know how you want to do this. If you want me to just go run down my whole list at once, and we'll do each person that way, or if we're going to go one at a time. But
Go ahead. Go ahead and do your top three.
okay. So first, I'm going to mention a couple special mentions. I want to special mention Adventureland, which I absolutely love. That's the one with Kristen Stewart and
Jesse Eisenberg.
Jesse Eisenberg. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And I love that movie. I watch it whenever I see it on or whenever I can. I do need to get that one on Blu-ray because I really, really love that movie. I also want to mention Dirty Dancing. It's not in my top three, and you would think it would be because I'm, who I am, but no, it's not in my top three. But I do want to give it a special mention because that movie screams summer to me. I love that movie, and I do own that, and I watch it every summer. And the one more, the last one that I have for a special mention is Summer School. Do you guys remember that?
Oh, yeah.
With
Mark
Harmon.
Yeah.
Mark Harmon.
It was so funny. Those two guys who are like obsessed with horror movies.
Mhm.
I was in love with those guys when
Yeah.
I was growing up. I thought they were the coolest things ever.
Yeah.
So, okay. So my number
Chainsaw and Dave. Chainsaw and Dave.
Chainsaw
Yeah.
and Dave. That's right. Yep. Okay. So my number 3 on my list is the only horror movie I have on my list, which is I can't talk today. Sleepaway Camp. I think we all have a specific love for that movie. It screams summer to me. I've watched it, almost every summer of my life ever since it came out. So to me, it's a very important one to have on my list because it's the only horror movie I wanted in my top 3. So number 2 on my list is Dazed and Confused.
Yes.
Which for me and my generation, and I'm sure Lauren will get this, that movie spoke out to me. It screamed to me about my generation. Now, when I was growing up, this whole hazing thing between like the high schoolers and then the incoming freshmen was still going on when I was in grade school. And this was a common thing. They had like a big thing at the school, where the parents would allow this stuff to go on, and they had like hazing rituals. This is serious. I could not wait to be in 6th grade so that I could go through that. And that's sick. But I really did. I mean, it was like a rite of passage thing. So when I watched this movie, knowing they got rid of it the year before I turned the year it would have happened, it was depressing for me. So seeing this movie and seeing that portrayed in that way always gave me a little jolt and a little excitement and made me feel, like I could relate to it. Plus, who doesn't love Dazed and Confused? There's something wrong with you if you don't love, Matthew McConaughey's all right.
I love them redheads, man.
I love them redheads. Yes, I love that guy. And he's based on a real person, which I thought was funny when I read it. I didn't know that. So that was cool. And my number 1, I don't think it's going to be a surprise to especially Stone, because Stone and I have mentioned this one before. Little Darlings is my number 1.
Ooh, yes.
I love that movie. That was the movie that made me fall in love with Matt Dillon. I fell in love with Tatum O'Neal and Kirsty McNichol, and I watch that every single time I see it on. I'm going to turn to it. No matter what, I'm going to turn to it every time I see it on. It felt wrong when I was so young because I saw that way, way too young of an age. And I felt like, I'm doing something naughty. I'm not supposed to do this. My mom won't like me watching this. This is risque. There's sex in it and all this stuff, And so for me, it was a rite of passage movie. And that's why it's number 1 on my list.
And as an asterisk, Unfortunately, Little Darlings is not available on physical media, only on out-of-print VHS tapes. But on YouTube, the uncut version with all the original soundtrack songs is available to view from the. Apparently, in the VHS era, they had a blue VHS and a red VHS, and it was on the blue VHS that had all the original music. Other Paramount titles, they screwed around with the soundtracks back at that time. But if you want to watch Little Darlings, it's on YouTube. Yeah.
Awesome.
There's an Australian import on Blu-ray.
Oh, there
Wonder
is?
why. Wonder why it hasn't been put out.
I wish it would be. It's so good.
The soundtrack, the rights to the song.
Yeah, sometimes it has to do with the soundtrack and getting rights for the music.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to share their top 3 favorite summer movies?
I've got 3, and I would have put Summer School, but one of my favorite John Candy movies, Summer Rental, beat it out on my list.
Oh,
Richard Crenna, John Candy. It's a classic to me. I can't help it. And my number 1 favorite 4th of July movie, Jaws. I can't have a summer. I watch it every year, so that should be a boring given. But every summer, I like to start out with Meatballs.
yeah.
I mean, are you ready for the summer? Hell yeah. And Bill Murray, I mean, he was in his element. He was hungry. He was young. Before Stripes. Yeah. So I know some people, that movie hasn't aged well for some people, but if you think that, then just watch the sequels and then get back to me.
Yeah, The Great Outdoors is a good one too.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that was another one, but it just Summer Rental and Meatballs. You know, it's like, oh, I got to go with one John Candy movie. I'm going to go with Summer Rental.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I mean, Jaws is my number 1, obviously. I mean, it's well, but whenever you have something with like a summer camp, I think that just really screams summer, obviously. Like Meatballs was on my list. What else did I have? I mean, you could probably go with like any of the Friday the 13th too. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I clearly misunderstood the instructions. So I thought these were films where summer was actually important to the plot. It wasn't just the setting.
You can kill that way too, sure.
Yeah.
So like Cujo, like the heat is just as much a threat as the dog is.
That's
So
a
to me,
summer
that's
movie.
like that's
on my list. Yeah.
The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the entire aesthetic is it being summer in Texas.
Yeah.
You can feel that movie. Hills Have Eyes, the same thing. You can feel that desert. And then one that no one talks about, and I know that's 3 already, but one no one really talks about ever, The Ruins, which that movie screams being trapped in a very, very hot, temperate, environment. And I just thought when I don't watch films based on the season I'm in at all, ever, even like Christmas or Halloween, really, I don't. Because I watch Halloween shit all year round. But to me, when the question was posed, I immediately jumped to like the movies I really felt summer in the movie, not that it took place during summer, because most of those Fridays were filmed in like October, and they don't really feel like summer. We just know they're supposed to be summer, so we roll with it. But like those films, Cujo, Chainsaw, Hills Have Eyes, Ruins, I 100% feel summer.
To be fair, I wasn't clear on the rules. I actually didn't really set any rules. I was just like, yeah, summer movies,
I went summer setting because it is kind of. I kept out sex comedies because so many of those are during the summer, and I kept out slashers because again, so many are set there. But I did have a few. One for me. This has been called one of the worst movies ever. I disagree. I actually think it's quite entertaining. And that is Del Tenney's The Horror of Party Beach. This was sort of a takeoff of the AIP beach movies at the time that starred Annette Funicello. And this, how can you not love, it was billed as the first horror monster musical. And you have songs like The Zombie Stomp and everything. I mean, it is a cheese fest. The creature is like stuffed with hot dogs.
It's a classic. I agree. I love that movie.
It is, and it makes me feel summer, and it's a collision of a beach movie and a radioactive monster, and it's actually deceptively bloody. It really does kind of feel like H.G. Lewis just tackled an Annette Funicello movie. So I like that one quite a bit. And there's a really good Blu-ray that finally came out from Severin. It is the definition of a cult movie. Another one that's a little more well-known, I'm sure most of you have seen this one, is the Roger Corman film directed by Barbara Peters, Humanoids from the Deep.
Another classic.
Yes, I love that film so much. I tend to watch that. That's one that I watch every summer, so I had to put that on my list. Yeah, I could have gone with Jaws, but I figured that was gonna already be taken. And just to throw out a non-horror suggestion for you guys, there's a newer, I think it's a 2013 film called The Way, Way Back. It was a quarantine watch for me. It's from co-directors Nat Faxon and Jim Rash. And this one is just a really great coming-of-age dramedy. Really showed me how diverse Steve Carell can be as an actor. I never really thought much of him. He's always sort of the Daily Show 40-year-old virgin guy. But this cast, Toni Collette, Allison Janney, Sam Rockwell, who's a real standout, Maya Rudolph. If you want a summer watch, it was a good, made me feel good during the height of the pandemic because I finally got around to watching it. And it's a great summer watch. So it's not all blood and guts, guys. There you go.
That's cool. My list, I have 3, and I was certain that one would be taken and that the other 2 would be solely mine. I was wrong. My number 1, of course, is Jaws. I mean, I had a feeling that one would be shared. My number 2 is The Lost Boys.
Good one.
And my number 3 is Summer School.
Oh, see, somebody did think of that one.
Yeah.
That's
I did,
awesome.
but I only had 3 choices.
So
Summer School was definitely in the top 10.
I didn't think anybody would go with Lost Boys or Summer School, but I stand corrected. Get with Summer School at least. So
Yeah, Christian mentions The Burning in the comments.
That's another good one. That's summer. Yeah.
no doubt. No doubt
What
about
about
it.
Nightmare Beach?
Yep. Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Lindsay. Yeah, that's a fun watch.
I
got 3 I'd like to share real quick.
Sure.
The first one, I'll be perfectly honest that my favorite musical of all time, I watch every 4th of July. Believe me, I love Jaws and I love Friday the 13th and Independence Day. I love those films. But this is a movie I've been watching every year for the past 25, 30 years. And it's a musical about the signing of the Declaration of Independence with William Daniels, known to many of you as Mr. Feeney on Boy Meets World, and the voice of the car in Knight Rider playing John Adams. And he is terrific. And one of my favorite facts about this movie is that Blythe Danner does a whole musical and dance number while 5 months pregnant with Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh.
Yeah. And as Lauren mentioned, Cujo is an absolute favorite that I got the Eureka limited edition. And I'm such a hardcore Cujo fan. I even have the making of book by Lee Gambin. Nope, nothing wrong here. The making of Cujo. That's how much of a fan I am. And just last week, true story, just last week, I tweeted about Cujo on a challenge saying that it's a film that's set in a very hot environment. But in actuality, I mean, they were filming in very cold temperatures. Dee Wallace herself retweeted it and said, it was freaking freezing. Yeah, apparently, and it's just, it really proves how believable their performances are. They really do sell being in the hot environment like that in the dead dog days of August, pun intended, in Maine. But my number one, which hasn't been mentioned yet, and I'm a little surprised to be perfectly honest, but it's National Lampoon's Vacation. You know, I grew up with my parents traveling cross country in station wagons. And, you know, at the time I was mostly miserable. I mean, all I had were books and my Walkman to keep me amused most of the time. But I mean, I would love to go back in time and go on one more trip with them, just going anywhere across country. We went north, we went west, east, south, everywhere. We drove everywhere in, you know, horrible 80s station wagons. So National Lampoon's Vacation means so much to me. I mean, it's my favorite film of the entire franchise. I hated the reboot. I hated the reboot with an absolute massive passion because they decided to make the kids these quintessential bullies. And, you know, I just wanted to shoot them in the head. I hated them so much. But I'm like, no, that remake is terrible. But no, number one, National Lampoon's Vacation. I have to go with that.
I grew up the same way, minus the station wagon, but we had a StarCraft pop-up camper that went everywhere with us. And I think I've been in KOAs across the country. I know I've been at least 40 of the 50 states, and I've been in 3 countries. And every summer for 2 weeks, it's like, we're getting out of town. Let's go. And yeah, exactly. I'd love to do it again. I mean, just going to Mount Rushmore and seeing the Liberty Bell and just all the different things, because my parents were big history buffs. They were a silent generation. And so that's what we did. We went to see America. And we had a great time doing it. Although, man, yeah, 700 miles in a car in the back seat with a book. Yeah, it's like it's brutal, but it was a lot of fun.
I just want to mention one.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
I just want to mention one more movie because nobody mentioned it, and I actually thought somebody would. But One Crazy Summer.
Oh,
I love that movie.
John
And
Cusack.
it almost made my list. It was very close. It's in my top 5, so it almost made my list, but it didn't. So
Very cool.
Subscribe to the Region Free YouTube channel and also check out the Patreon to get exclusive content and become a Regionaire.